Welcome to Mental as Anyone.
I didn't know I'd be sitting here in a wig talking about mental health. Because anybody who's tuning in is going, yeah, this bitch got the answer.
I'm your host, JMO, and in this series we explore mental health.
If this is what life's going to be, I don't want to be here.
The battles, the triumphs, and the strategies to deal with mental health in a healthy way.
We are born and we are just told stories upon stories upon stories about how to live our life, and no one knows.
I'm the first to know that's not easy, having battled on my own journey. Now, I'll be speaking with others who are ready to share their own insights and lessons.
You know, you try to bury it, keep busy, and then all of a sudden it just swallows you whole.
This podcast is specifically designed to support you on your own journey. So join me as we learn together that we are mental as anyone.
You're out there, and every night you have to prove that you deserve to be there.
BYD isn't just powering this podcast. For nearly 3 years, it's been redefining the way I drive. It brings me peace of mind. I just charge it at home, no more detours to the petrol station. And the way it drives, so smooth and has instant power when you need it. It's got all the space, all the tech, and I feel good knowing it's better for the environment too. If you're even a little bit curious, check out the links in the show notes, and thanks BYD for helping bring Mental as Anyone to life. This episode is proudly brought to you by Chemist Warehouse, your go-to destination for all things health and well-being. From essential vitamins and supplements to skincare and fitness products, Chemist Warehouse offers everything you need to stay balanced and healthy. Plus, they're committed to supporting your health journey with affordable, high-quality products. Visit chemistwarehouse.com.au to explore their extensive range and take your next step in your well-being. Welcome to this bonus episode of Mental as Anyone. I'm very excited to have Dr. Jodie Lowinger on this podcast because she's become a friend. She knows me perhaps better than my partner even knows me. You know me intimately.
Indeed.
And
I don't know what colour underwear you wear, though.
Well, I was going to tell you a secret. I'm not. I got stuck in Melbourne overnight yesterday, and I've been wearing the same pair of undies for the last 2 days.
Okay, well, now I really do know everything
They're
about
inside
you, right?
out, inside out, back to front. So isn't that the rule? Like you turn
as
them
we do,
around?
right?
Anyway, it is what it is. That's something you didn't want to know, but we're warts and all here, and I don't keep
100%.
anything back. And with the reason I've invited you on here today is because this is a bonus episode. We've just announced that Mental as Anyone, the book, is coming out on June 25 through Wiley. Pre-sales are available now, and you can check that in the story in the notes on the podcast. But I just want to unpack it a little bit because initially the book came out of me as just a memoir, and there's no just, it came out of me as a memoir, me telling my story. And then through speaking to people, through discussing it, it really became evident because I didn't want to just dump a steaming pile of poo on the table. I always wanted this to be useful for other people. So rather than just giving people a problem, I wanted to give them some suggestions of a solution. And that's where you come in. And instantly we met at a cafe, and instantly it just felt it was just the right thing, I think, for both of us, and a mutual friend, Lucy McGeoch, introduced us. How are you feeling?
I love this. I mean, this is so great because for me, I'm super passionate about bringing mental health, mental fitness kind of topics into our day-to-day conversation and taking it out of this clinical frame into just being human and just all being in it together, which is, I think, really what gelled between us, is saying, let's be real, let's open up conversations that help people to feel comfortable within their own skin and just look at how we can help people to thrive.
So you're a published author, you're a psychologist, you're esteemed and well-regarded, well-respected. You do keynotes, you do all this stuff. Why this? This is a very different, you've been published before. This is a very different book to anything you've done before, I imagine.
Yeah. For me, my passion is helping people on scale and impacting lives in a positive way. And to be able to take this into just being real, you know, and I absolutely loved your authenticity and your deep passion to share your story for the benefit of humanity. And so it resonated super well for me. So, yeah, and to take it into talking about the story and talking about solutions and practical tools that can help every single person, well, hey, there's nothing better than that.
Because that's the point, right? And that's the point of the name of the podcast. That's the point of life, is that whether you're diagnosed with anything in particular, whether you're not diagnosed but struggling with something, we're all coping with our own things in life.
Yeah.
And hopefully if we can take those similarities and have the tips and tricks, and they'll help us move forward in a positive way.
Yeah, totally. And in the world that we exist in, there's this sense of we have to be perfect in order to be good enough, when in actual fact, as human beings, we are born with so much stuff. We're born to experience anxiety. We're born to experience anger. We're born to want to avoid, and we're born to want to numb difficult experiences. So that takes us into a whole realm of mental health challenges, which is simply the byproduct of being human. So when we can take it a step further and say, you know what, let's stand up to all of that stigma bullshit and move it into a space of let's be in this together and create strategies that help people. It's fantastic, and even though my area is anxiety, I'm just passionate about helping people to think about even something like anxiety in a different way. For the things that you experience, JMO, in your life, it's this deep care factor that you have. That's why you've got this beautiful ability to connect with so many people, is because of that care factor. And that care factor does come with it a double-edged sword, which takes us sometimes down into those worry spirals of not good enough on the back of traumatic life experiences. Trauma is so prevalent in society that takes our brain into this fight or flight response in various ways. There's this beautiful thing of neuroplasticity where we can rewire our brain, and there's nothing better than the power of open conversation that enables us to look after each other, connect with each other. It's really fantastic.
Sorry, I'm just getting emotional. Sorry, I didn't realize I was going to cry in this.
You'll get me crying too. Hey, my man, you got this.
Sorry. Whoa. That was not expected. I just feel seen.
100%.
And I wasn't prepared for that.
That's so beautiful.
Wow. Sorry. That was very unexpected.
Aren't you gorgeous?
Hearing you speak like that, and I've had a lot of therapy. I need you as my therapist.
Well, we kind of crossed boundaries now. We're good mates. So
I'm a little bit scared, Jodie, because I have put everything into this book. There's nothing I've held back.
Yeah, it's terrifying. It's like free falling from an aeroplane, right? It's really scary what you've done, and it's profound. In my book, I kind of disclose initially when I wrote my book, I disclosed the tiniest bit and I tucked it into the middle of my book, and I was hoping that nobody would see it, because it's really scary being out there, being transparent. But when you bring it back to your heart and your deep values with passion to share your story for the benefit of humankind, like, hey, that's just all sorts of awesome. Yeah,
I hope people see it for that reason, and that was the intent. I don't want it to be some sort of trauma porn or that sort of stuff. I've shared things about abuse and things about drugs and alcohol and those things because of the messages that I believe in. Can I take me off the table for a second? Get my emotions out of the way, putting that back there, not suppressing it, just saying, hang on, this is
I'm glad you qualified.
Putting that to the side for a second, because I think it's important to sit in that. And I actually thank you for letting me. Thank you for saying that and for validating that.
Yeah.
Sound like a wanker and psychobabble gobbledygook. But how did you become Dr. Jodie? How did you get to be this woman who's helping so many people? What drove that?
Anxiety.
You get anxious?
Of course. Yeah, bloody oath, the person who wanted to establish the anxiety clinic. Hello. So, yes, I certainly get anxious. I experience anxiety. I experience a lot of stuff where it's been that inherent internal motivator to be able to help people with heart connection because of my personal life experiences as well, but not to get caught up in my personal life experiences, but really just allow myself to embrace the dedication to clinical psychology and helping people from a deeply authentic space. Because I've been there, I've experienced, really tough stuff. Raised in an environment where my mum had experienced trauma, and so she experienced really heightened anxiety. So growing up in an environment where I very much was parenting my mum, had a really great relationship with my dad. But, what evolves from that is when you don't quite know what version of your mum you're going to get, you evolve with challenge around uncertainty. And that's what anxiety is a discomfort with uncertainty. And so what you develop is this need for certainty. And so what evolved in myself is just I suppose that perfectionistic element around a dedication to do more, be more, help more in this clinical space. So when I went down the path of helping my mum with anxiety, experiencing anxiety myself, it led to a deep dedication and desire to move into that clinical space. I started off in psychology, but then went into corporate with the intention not necessarily to stay in corporate, but to move into clinical, but I loved it in corporate. So I ended up in leadership development, in management consulting, in doing a lot of business stuff, and then moved back into a clinical space, set up the anxiety clinic, set up Mind Strength High Performance Consultancy, wrote the book, developed the methodology, and now, hey, we're having a chat. But the opportunity to be able to help people through this methodology, which blends clinical tools, helping people with anxiety, stress, low mood, burnout, boosting confidence, smashing imposter syndrome, but also that high performance coaching element. I now have the really wonderful opportunity. I work with celebrities, global celebrities. I'm coaching them. I work with Olympians. I work with elite, athletic teams, and I coach CEOs. But on the side, I've got the anxiety clinic where I've probably been at the coalface. It's just now having its 10-year 10-year anniversary, where, at the coalface as an adult, child and adolescent clinical psychologist have helped thousands and thousands of humans.
It's amazing. It's amazing. You're making a difference. I'm worried about where we're at with mental health in the world at the moment. It's a scary world out there. Yes, you got the social media and all the things that that we bring up all the time in every episode, and that's really important to discuss. But there is an undercurrent of anxiety that I feel that is swirling around the world at the moment. That's political, that's social, that's all of these things. There's a movement away from being inclusive, away from diversity and those things, which is quite scary to me. Are you seeing that in practice? Are you seeing that with people that you're speaking to?
Absolutely. The way the world is evolving, as you're highlighting, is out of line with the nature of the world that we are designed to exist in. We're designed to exist in a very simpler environment where we're out in the fields and, we're picking berries and hunting wildebeests and all of this sort of stuff, right? And now we're in this hyper-connected, hyper-digitized, AI-driven world now where there's so much uncertainty, global instability, eco-anxiety. So when we think about anxiety, the fundamental challenge is uncertainty. That's our primitive threat, is uncertainty. And in our contemporary world, it clusters. So I kind of distill it down. I like to keep things really simple. Social uncertainty, so that's that fear of being judged negatively or fear of being rejected. Performance uncertainty or performance anxiety is fear of making a mistake, in this hyper perfectionistic kind of world. And then there's health anxiety as well. So things like climate change or the potential for global war,
Catastrophe.
that's that health anxiety bit that makes us uncomfortable. The good news is these things are really responsive to the right practical tools, and it's a toolkit which is the toolkit that I use with all of the people I work with, and when I'm speaking in a keynote context or whatever it is when you and I are doing work together, is a toolkit to learn how to sit with the discomfort of uncertainty and move out of those fight or flight reactions and move into things that are important to us in life, which is a pathway that's really doable for all of us.
I'm really excited to share something very special with you. I've always been open about my personal struggles, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. And now I've put it all into my book, Mental as Anyone. It's raw, it's real, and full of the lessons I've learned, alongside some expert wisdom from Dr. Jodie Lowinger to help you navigate your own mental health journey. The book hits shelves in all good bookstores nationally on June 25, but you can pre-order it right now on Amazon. The link is in the show notes. This book means the absolute world to me. I hope it helps you too. One of the other worries that I have, and maybe it's silly, and I say this acknowledging that I'm a very fortunate person, but cost of living is meaning that people can't access the mental health treatment and those sorts of things that we should be in this country, but also globally. Kids are at crisis point with accessing stuff, that sort of, it's not my area of expertise, but I'm hearing this from people that I speak to. And,
Totally.
a lot of people through the work that I do with Mental as Anyone share their stories with me now.
Yes.
Because, it's become a community, and that scares me, not being able to access basic mental health wellness treatment for me is as important as being able to get access to something to fix a broken bone or fix a cold or whatever, getting antibiotics if you have a flu.
Yes. Yeah. It's really tricky from that perspective. I mean, at the anxiety clinic, we're busy. Like, we're really busy because people want accessibility to clinical psychologists and psychologists. I mean, for you and I, Jamo, when we are heart motivated to be able to help people on scale, we're writing the books, we're doing the podcasts, I'm developing an app at the moment. It's kind of, how can we move into that space of being able to have scalable solutions that really help people? And so, we do what we can do to keep it real, to keep that connection. And I think one of the most powerful things is destigmatizing and opening up conversation. So, because when we push those feelings down, those beautiful tears that came up for you, that's that cathartic release that says, I'm okay with my shit. Okay. It's hard. Yes. And there's tough stuff in there. But the first step is giving yourself permission to be imperfect and to feel those emotions, and allowing yourself to feel those emotions enables us to move out of this all or nothing experience of emotions, which takes us into what's called safety behaviors, sometimes squashing those emotions through self-harm, through drugs and alcohol, or the biggest representation of squashing big emotions is suicide. And so by opening up conversation, it's saying it's okay. I'm sorry to use a cliche, but it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
It's
Cliche away.
it's okay. We're all in this together. And, in the work that I've done over, decades, I can deeply say we're all in this together. Human problems are actually, we're so incredibly similar, even in our personal complexities, even in our personal stories. We can distill it down by the very nature of the fact that we are all human. We've got this brain that's wired towards fight or flight. It tips us into behaviors that take us down certain paths. When we can build awareness around what those unhealthy and unhelpful behaviors look like and help people to recognize we're not doing it because we're silly, when we're doing it because we think it's helping. But when you can allow yourself to recognize that, oh my God, I was doing it for these reasons, I thought it was helpful, but in actual fact it was the opposite, and these are the more helpful alternatives, every person on this planet can move into a better state of well-being, of flourishing.
I think we can't solve the problems of the world, but I absolutely hear what you're saying. But could we today give someone a tip? Let's say they've got anxiety or they're depressed, and I don't mean depressed as having a bad day. I mean they're in a deep crisis, depression, or let's say someone's in a crisis, or in a mental health crisis, whatever that is for them.
Yes.
Can we give them a tip? Is that as basic as just allowing yourself to sit in that for a moment, acknowledging that this is a shit situation? Because a lot of people don't feel like they're seen or heard.
Yeah.
Or is it, I don't know, what's your tip?
I think you've nailed it. I mean, that's a really beautiful tip, is because when we get caught up in, saying to ourselves that we're crap for feeling crap, that intensifies the feeling crap, right? So the superpower of acceptance is a wonderful first step to say, I accept right now that I'm feeling shit. Okay. I accept right now that this is really horrible stuff. And so that initial acceptance is helping to move us into a more empowered space that says, right, I'm feeling really awful, and I'm going to move into kindness and compassion for myself. I'm going to seek connection with others, and I'm going to move out of that worry spiral into problem solving and action around the elements that are in our control. And even if it's small steps in that direction, even if it's one small thing that says, I am worth looking after myself, even if it's, walking around the block or patting
walking downstairs, walking to the bathroom, and
yeah, exactly,
changing the clothes that day.
Totally right. Taking one small
nourishing
step.
yourself with an apple rather than a packet of chips.
Totally. So we can move into things that are in our control to take that one step, slowing down the breathing and moving into kindness and compassion. I mean, we could talk for hours and hours and hours about practical tools. But what I love about your book is you do a deep dive into the gritty stuff. And it's the gritty stuff that gives people permission to be real in their gritty stuff and just help in that space. The topics that you really cover in your life experience through lived experience around grief, around trauma, around abuse, around self-harm, many other things, right? I think when we open up conversation, that's a really, really fantastic starting point.
I just want to say, if any of this is triggering for anyone, please reach out to a friend. Please reach out to Lifeline. Anyone else, will put those details in the show notes as well, because it's important to, that could be a first step, is making a call.
Yeah, 100%. And starting to believe in hopefulness. Okay, just starting to believe when we're in a state of depression, low mood, deeply low self-esteem or whatever it might be, that big black cloud says hopefulness. What the hell, as if there's such a thing as hopefulness. But when you take that first step to say you are worth leaning into some small steps in the direction of self-care, please be hopeful, because the tools, the scientifically supported tools built on stuff that is around recognizing our common human experience, they absolutely will make a difference in every person's life. And your case in point for that, you've experienced some really tough stuff, and you said, I'm not going to sit in the shit. I'm going to do something about it. And it's not easy. Like, it's bloody hard, right? But it's doable. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that's helped me is obviously the work that we're doing with Mental as Anyone. But I know I'm repetitive and I say the same thing over and over again. But for me, that thought, like when I'm feeling dark tomorrow or in a week's time or a week ago, in my head saying I am mental as anyone, and that realization at that moment that I am not unique in that pain. Other people are feeling that pain to their own degree, to their own traumas, to their own whatever. That for me is actually helpful, because then from there I can use that as a point to go, hang on, well, what am I going to do next from that?
Yeah.
So taking from what you just said then, so I know that's just sort of waffling, but it's a very helpful thing for me, is just knowing that I'm not alone,
Yes.
because these things are universal, whether you're living in Thailand or living in Russia or living in, I don't know, wherever.
100%. We are all human. We've got the same brains, yes, we've had life experience that creates certain stuff in our neural wiring. We're born with certain physiology that makes us a little bit different. But ultimately, we've got this imprint. We are human and we respond in similar ways. And so we're also tribal beings. And so the connectedness is tremendously important. Loneliness, and as we know, there's awful loneliness out there. It's like social media is connection but disconnection. When we do things like open up these conversations to connect in our human imperfection, it's a good move to make. Yeah, really good move to make.
Yeah. I finish every episode by asking someone how they are on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being phenomenal, 0 being crap. Where are you at?
Am I allowed to say I'm feeling freaking fabulous?
Yeah.
So I would say I'm kind of an 8, even though I say I'm feeling freaking fabulous, because like we all have our stuff. But I think you and I connecting, JMO, I absolutely love it. I love that it just feels really, it's just real. And so that's a wonderful thing, because for me, it's all about, as I mentioned earlier, the ability to help people on scale. And so this is why it's a hell yeah to do this work with you, and, doing some really exciting stuff in terms of my own professional things, projects that I'm working on. So, and on the home front, loving life. So feeling
Great.
good.
I actually thought of another question that I think is really important, so I'm not going to let you off the hook yet. One of the things that I hear from people, and I just sort of internally roll my eyes when I hear it, is, mental health is just the latest fad. Do you hear that too? Or because you're a psychologist, they wouldn't say that to you? They wouldn't dare?
Well,
Everyone's getting on that train.
How can we call something that's so fundamental to who we are as humans a fad? It's kind of like anxiety, stress, low mood, burnout, all of this is part of our fundamental human experience. We are wired to be anxious, every single human being on this planet. So how could we call that a fad? So like people can call that a fad if they want to. good luck, right?
And you know what I say to you?
Yeah, I think what we want to do is move from the superficial into the transformational and move from bullshitty, fatty stuff, and make sure that the stuff that we're talking about is scientifically supported and say, we're not doing this because it's trendy. We're doing this because we're on this planet for a limited amount of time, and we want to make a difference and impact positively on people's lives. So, that's my driver. So that kind of takes it away from anything that's reflective of a fad. And if it's a fad, hey, in my life, it's been a fad for 3 decades.
So that's a long fad.
It's a long fad. The wrinkles do not lie.
That's right. I need Botox. Dr. Jodie Lowinger, the book Mental as Anyone is in stores on June 25, and I'm so excited, like a kid at Christmas or a kid in a candy store. Pre-sales are available now. Details in the show notes as well. Thank you for coming on Mental as Anyone. I would love you to come on again.
It would be such a joy.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
This episode is supported by Chemist Warehouse, Australia's leader in health and wellness products. Whether you're looking for natural supplements, fitness essentials, or everyday healthcare, Chemist Warehouse has you covered at unbeatable prices. They're proud to support this podcast and help you take control of your health and well-being. Head to chemistwarehouse.com.au for the best selection of vitamins, wellness products, and more to keep you feeling your best. BYD has taken it to the next level with the all-electric Sea Lion 7, a performance SUV that's as sleek as it is powerful. We're talking quiet luxury, up to 482 kilometers of range, and a 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just 4.5 seconds. It's smooth, it's fast, and honestly, sustainability has never looked this good. With 4 luxe colors, including the stunning Shark Grey, this is EV driving elevated. If you're even a little bit curious, check out the links in the show notes. Big thanks to BYD for making this podcast possible. I know firsthand how overwhelming life can get, and I also know how powerful it is when you have the right tools to get you through it. That's why I've written Mental as Anyone, a book filled with real stories, practical strategies, and expert insights to help you manage stress, anxiety, and everything life throws your way. With clinical psychologist Dr. Jodie Lowinger providing her professional insights, it'll be on shelves in all good bookstores nationally on June 25, but you can pre-order it right now on Amazon. The link is in the show notes. If you've ever felt like you're struggling alone, this book is for you. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Mental as Anyone. There's been some heavy insights in there, but also some useful tools for all of us to move forward. If you want to be the first to hear new episodes, be sure to hit follow. And if you find yourself in need of support, links to Lifeline, Beyond Blue, and the Black Dog Institute are in the show notes below. See you later.